I want you to do something for me. Picture a newborn baby. Just a tiny, brand new human.
Okay.
Maybe you're watching one from a distance or even holding one. To the naked eye, it's not exactly a high-performance machine, is it?
No, not at all. You're seeing a lot of drooling, a lot of just random arm movements. It looks chaotic.
Right. It seems like the system hasn't even fully booted up yet, and this is what's amazing from the research we've pulled, that assumption is just completely wrong.
Oh, completely. I mean, if you could actually see what's happening inside that little brain, you wouldn't see chaos at all. You'd see probably the most complex construction project in the universe.
And that is exactly what we are unpacking today. We are doing a deep dive into cognitive development in infancy and early childhood.
It's a huge topic.
It is. The mission really is to figure out how we get from being that helpless newborn to a walking, talking, complex thinker in just a couple of years.
It's arguably the most dramatic transformation we ever go through. And to really get it, you have to look at it through a few different lenses. We've got the big three theories.
Piaget, information processing, and Vygotsky.
Exactly. Plus, the absolute miracle of how we learn language.
What I love about this source material is that it shows that babies are, they're geniuses. They're little scientists, they're supercomputers, and they're social apprentices all at once.
They are all of those things. And my hope is that after this, the next time you see a toddler, you won't just see a cute face. You'll actually see the gears turning.
So let's start with the big one. The man who basically started it all, Jean Piaget.
You have to start with Piaget. He is the foundation. I mean, he spent his entire life, basically from the late 1800s until 1980, just observing children.
And often his own kids, right?
Yeah, his own kids, which is so interesting because he wasn't using modern stats or control groups. The notes mention he used something called the clinical method.
Which is more like an improvised conversation.
Exactly. He'd play a game, see what a kid did, and then ask a follow-up question. His core idea was that children aren't just empty vessels.
Waiting for us to fill them up with facts.
Right. He saw them as little scientists.
Actively building their own world.
Precisely. And he said they do this by constructing schemes.
Okay, schemes. Think of it like a mental file folder, a way to organize the world.
That's a perfect way to put it. At first, these schemes are purely physical, things I can hold, things I can suck on. Later, they become functional, like things I can write with. And eventually, much later, they get abstract.
And the notes describe this engine of learning, how we update these files with two specific terms: assimilation and accommodation. I always used to mix these up.
Yeah, the jargon can be tricky, but the idea is simple. Let's start with assimilation. That's when you fit a new experience into a file you already have.
You're using your old map for new territory.
Exactly. The classic example in the text is a baby who has a grasping scheme. They learn to grasp a parent's finger. Later, they see a toy. They don't need to invent a new move. They just use that same grasping scheme on the toy. They assimilate it.
So assimilation is kind of like same old trick, new object. But what happens when that trick doesn't work?
That's accommodation. That's when the file itself has to change because the old way failed.
Yeah.
So let's say that same baby tries to use their one-handed grasp on a big beach ball.
Not gonna work.
Right. It fails. So the child has to accommodate. They have to modify the scheme and learn, some things need two hands. They upgrade their mental software.
And this whole back and forth is driven by something Piaget called equilibration.
Yes. And this is the part I think is so important for everyone, even adults. It's the idea that feeling frustrated is actually good.
How so?
Well, when your schemes are working and the world makes sense, you're in equilibrium. It's comfortable. But when you hit that beach ball moment, you enter disequilibrium.
That confusion, that feeling of, wait, this isn't working.
Exactly. That feeling is the engine of growth. It forces you to upgrade your thinking just to get back to that comfortable balance.
So if a toddler is getting frustrated, they're probably learning something important.
That's it. If you're never confused, you're never growing.
Now, Piaget is famous for breaking all this down into these really distinct stages. Let's focus on the first two, the sensoromotor stage and the preoperational stage.
Okay, so sensoromotor, birth to about 2 years.
Yeah.
And the name really tells you everything you need to know. Thinking is done through
Senses and motor actions.
senses and motor actions. They don't think in words yet. They think by doing.
And this is where we see what the notes call circular thinking, right?
Yes, the accidental scientist phase. A baby kicks their legs by pure chance, and it makes a mobile shake. They like it. So what do?
Try to do it again.
And again, and again. It looks like just random play, but it's actually rigorous scientific testing. They're building a cause and effect scheme.
But the biggest milestone in this stage, the one that really just blows my mind, is object permanence.
Oh, it's huge. It's this fundamental realization that objects continue to exist even when you can't see them.
Which sounds so obvious to us.
To us, sure. But before this kicks in, around 8 months or so, if you hide a toy under a blanket, for that infant, it is literally gone.
Deleted from the universe.
Poof, gone. They won't even look for it because in their reality, it has ceased to exist.
Out of sight, out of mind isn't a saying. It's a law of physics for them.
It literally is. The notes even mention invisible displacement, finding a toy that was moved while hidden. When a kid can do that, it's a massive leap. It means they now have a mental picture of the world.
And once they can hold pictures in their heads, they graduate to the next level, the pre-operational stage. This is from about age 2 to 7.
Right, and this is the era of symbols. Language explodes. You see all this amazing make-believe play. A block becomes a phone. A box is a car. But the most entertaining part of this stage are the logical flaws.
Oh, these are the best. The notes list a few. Let's start with egocentrism.
Now, this is a tricky one. In psychology, it doesn't mean selfish. It just means the child literally cannot see the world from another person's point of view.
Like when a toddler nods on the phone to say yes.
Perfect example. They see themselves nodding, so they assume you must see it too. There's only one perspective, and it's theirs.
Then there's animism.
Giving lifelike qualities to inanimate things. The teddy bear is sad. The sun is tired. It's a very magical, sort of poetic way to see the world.
My absolute favorite, though, is centration, where they get stuck on one aspect of a problem.
The classic experiment for this is conservation. You take 2 identical glasses with the same amount of water. A 4-year-old will agree they're the same.
Okay.
Then right in front of them, you pour 1 glass into a tall, skinny cylinder.
And the water level looks way higher.
Exactly. And you ask them which one has more, and they will always say the tall one has more water.
Even though they just watched you pour it.
Doesn't matter. They centrate on the height. They can't process 2 variables, height and width, at the same time yet. It looks bigger, so it is bigger.
Now, Piaz really sounds like he had this all figured out. But this is a deep dive, so we have to ask.
Yeah.
Was he right about everything?
Well, yes and no. He was a pioneer, no doubt. The general sequence he laid out is still pretty solid. But the biggest criticism from modern science is that he really underestimated infants.
They're smarter than he gave them credit for.
Much smarter.
Yeah.
So Piaget thought object permanence didn't show up until 8 or 9 months because that's when babies could physically lift the blanket.
Right, they needed the motor skills.
But when researchers today use eye tracking, they find that babies as young as 4.5 months show surprise if an object just vanishes. They look longer.
So their eyes show they knew it was supposed to be there, they just couldn't do anything about it.
Exactly. And this leads to this newer idea, the core knowledge hypothesis. It's the theory that babies aren't born as blank slates. They're born with these basic, naive theories about the world.
Naive theories of physics?
Yeah, physics, biology, psychology. Like a 5-month-old already expects liquids to pour and solids to be, well, solid. They expect one object can't pass through another.
So the little scientist comes preloaded with a basic operating system for reality. That's incredible.
It is. It suggests we're just wired to learn from the get-go.
Okay, let's switch gears. We've looked at the little scientist. Now let's look at the brain as a computer. This is the information processing approach.
Right. Piaget is all about biology and stages. Information processing is much more mechanical. It looks at the mind like a computer. You have mental hardware.
The brain itself, the neural structures.
Right. And then you have software, the programs and strategies we use to do things.
And a huge part of this, just like with a computer, is input. It's all about attention.
Attention is the gatekeeper. And babies have 2 really cool mechanisms for it. First is the orienting response. It's a reflex, a loud noise, a flash of light. The baby startles, their heart rate changes.
Yeah.
The system is saying, whoa, new data, pay attention.
But if they did that for every little sound, their system would crash.
Exactly, which is why we also have habituation.
Yeah.
This is basically the ability to get bored.
Getting bored is a skill.
Is a crucial survival skill. If a sound keeps happening, like a fan humming, and nothing bad happens, the baby just stops reacting to it. They habituate. It's a spam filter for the brain, so they can save energy for what's important.
And what about saving that data? Let's talk memory. The notes have this amazing study with a mobile over a crib.
Oh, the Roe v. Collier studies. They're famous. So researchers tie a ribbon from a baby's foot to a mobile.
Okay.
The baby kicks, the mobile moves. They figure it out pretty fast.
Yeah.
Hey, my kicking does that. It's rewarding.
Fun game.
But here's the kicker. Days later, they bring the mobile back, but they don't attach the ribbon. And the babies still kick like crazy.
They remember.
They remember the connection. It's proof that even very young infants have long-term memory files. They see the setup and they access the kick program.
But wait, if they have memory, why don't I remember any of that? I have no memory of being in a crib.
That's infantile amnesia. The notes refer to autobiographical memory. That's your memory for the story of your life. And that doesn't really come online until you're a toddler.
Why not?
Well, you need a sense of self first. You can't have a story about me until you really know who me is. And you also need language to structure and store those memories. So the files are there, just not in a story format yet.
Okay, so we've got the scientist and the computer, but there's a third major theory from Lev Vygotsky, and he takes a totally different approach.
He really does. Vygotsky is the perfect counterweight to Piaget. Where Piaget's child is a solitary explorer, Vygotsky's child is social.
So he believed development is a social process.
Entirely. He said thinking is just the internalization of social activity. We learn to think by interacting with people.
We sort of borrow their thinking until we can do it on our own.
That's a great way to put it. And his most famous idea is the zone of proximal development, the ZPD.
ZPD. Sounds a little sci-fi.
It's actually super practical. Imagine what a child can do all by themselves. That's the inner circle. Then there's stuff they can't do at all, even with help. That's the outer circle.
Okay.
The ZPD is that sweet spot in between, the zone of things they can do if they get a little help from someone more skilled.
Like, I can't tie my shoes alone, but I can do it if you hold the loops for me.
Precisely. And Vygotsky said, that is where all real learning happens. Teachers and parents should be aiming for that zone, and they do it through something called scaffolding.
Like on a construction site.
It's the perfect metaphor. You provide just enough support, a hint, a little help, to let them do something they couldn't do alone. And then as they get better, you gradually take the scaffolding away.
It's basically being a good coach.
It is. But there's one more Vygotsky concept that I just find fascinating. Private speech?
Ah, yes. Kids talking to themselves.
Right. I mean, we've all seen it.
I always just thought it was noise. But Vygotsky says it's critical.
He really did. Piaget thought it was just egocentrism. You know, kids can't keep their thoughts in. Vygotsky said, no, it's a tool. They're talking to themselves to guide their own actions.
Okay. The red block goes here, then the blue one.
Yes. They're self-regulating with words. And eventually, that external voice goes quiet. It goes inside. It becomes inner speech.
It becomes
thought.
Exactly.
That is a wild idea. That our internal monologue is really just a silent conversation we learned how to have by listening to others.
Which brings us perfectly to the final piece of this whole puzzle. You can't have inner speech without speech. The explosion of language.
It really is an explosion.
Yeah.
We go from just crying to full sentences in about 2 years. How on earth does that even start?
It starts with just perceiving sound. And newborns are what you'd call citizens of the world. A 1-month-old can hear the difference between all the tiny sounds, the phonemes, in every single language on earth.
So a baby in an English-speaking home can hear sound distinctions in Mandarin that I can't. Yes. But it's a use it or lose it system. Over the first year, their brain specializes. They lose the ability to hear the distinctions that aren't in their native language.
Right.
They become a citizen of their own culture.
And then they start making their own sounds. The notes have that timeline cooing around 2 months.
Which is just vowels. Ooh. And babbling around 6 months, adding consonants.
And then my favorite part, around 8 to 11 months, is intonation.
Yes. It sounds like they're having a full, serious conversation, but in complete gibberish. They've mastered the melody of the language before they have the words.
And parents help this along with that funny voice we all do, motherese.
Or infant-directed speech, yeah. It's that high-pitched, slow, sing-songy voice. It feels silly, but it actually helps babies identify where one word ends and the next begins.
So we're naturally scaffolding language for them.
Yeah.
And then the first words around age 1.
Usually simple nouns, yeah. But the real magic comes next with something called fast mapping.
This sounded like an actual superpower.
It basically is. A toddler can learn a new word after hearing it just once or twice. So imagine a kid knows the word cup. You show them a cup and some weird tool.
And you say, pass me the wrench.
They instantly know the weird tool is the wrench. They use logic. I know cup. That other thing isn't a cup, so it must be the wrench. Boom, word mapped.
But they do make some funny mistakes. The notes mention underextension, and overextension.
Yeah, it's adorable. Underextension is when they define a word too narrowly. Car only means the family's car. Any other car is something else.
And overextension is the opposite.
Right. Every four-legged animal is doggy, a cat is the doggy, a horse is a doggy. They're just applying their one category to everything that fits.
And finally, grammar. Because the mistakes kids make are not only funny, the notes say they're actually signs of intelligence.
Oh, absolutely. This is overregularization. So a child says, I run fast instead of ran.
Right. And you correct them.
But stop and think about what they just did. They didn't just mimic an adult. No adult says run. They figured out a rule.
The rule is you add "erd" to make something past tense.
Exactly. They are a little linguist who has discovered a rule and is now applying it everywhere. The mistake is actually proof that they are learning the system, not just copying words.
So "rund" is a sign of a grammatical genius at work. Wow.
They've just got to learn the exceptions. And pretty soon, around 18 months, they're stringing words together. Telegraphic speech.
More juice. Daddy, go.
Yeah. High impact, two-word sentences. It's all function, no fluff.
So let's just try to wrap this all up. We've seen the developing mind through these three incredible lenses.
You have Piaget's active builder, just figuring it out through trial and error. You have the efficient computer from information processing, constantly upgrading its hardware.
And you have Vygotsky's social apprentice learning to think by being part of a community.
And language is the tool that ties it all together, allowing us to share those thoughts. It's just a reminder that those early years, which can seem so chaotic, are actually the most intense periods of intellectual work a human will ever do.
It really makes you rethink the terrible twos. It's not them being difficult. It's them being in a constant state of disequilibrium.
Exactly. They are desperately trying to accommodate a world that's way more complex than their current software can handle.
I want to leave you with one last thought from Vygotsky that's still just spinning in my head. We talked about how kids use private speech to guide themselves and how that eventually becomes our silent inner speech.
Right. The foundation of our thoughts.
So if our internal monologue, that voice in your head that you think of as you, is really just the internalized voice of the culture and people who raised you, how much of your thinking is truly your own? And who exactly is doing the talking in there?
Now that is a question that could keep you up at night.
Thanks for listening to this deep dive into the emergence of thought. We'll catch you on the next one.